in a world.
And we back.
We're back again. What's up with you?
Chilling, man. Just, I'm still nervous that you outed me as a country fan, so I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
Oh my God. Yeah, bro, we're about to gain a lot. We're about to gain a lot of listeners.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because
I'll take
of you.
them. I'll take them. They're all my friends.
You were in the closet with it, and I like
it's definitely not something that I advertise.
Pulled you out, and what was great,
I was outed by my need to know everything.
Yeah, that was. You had to correct me. That guy died.
It's a sickness. I'm working on it.
Oh, so your desire to correct me when I'm wrong. Actually,
outed myself.
Outed you as a closet country lover.
Oh, that is an exact true statement.
That's great. But at least we've developed a culture where we don't want people to be misquoting stuff. You know what I'm saying?
If I know better, I have to say it. I'm like, I can't.
You sure about that? So we were kind of like talking about this before we jumped on, but man, in the workplace and in life, it feels like you're always going to have to deal with somebody that's insane or crazy, and it's like, I think historically, playing on teams, it was easy. Like if somebody was off, it was easy for them to show themselves, and then sort of the collective be like, that's not part of our culture.
Right.
It seems like now, more and more people are having to go years and in multiple different roles where you're going to have to deal with somebody that's kind of off.
Yeah, whether it be a coworker or a boss or
a boss.
Yep.
Well, let's peel the onion on that a little bit.
Let's go, bro.
So it's funny because a lot of people, historically, when I've managed people, I've gotten a pretty good review.
Yeah.
People have been like, I've heard it all. You're a great leader. You're an amazing leader. I've heard it all. And that came through a lot of skint knees and ripped up knuckles. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do it right at all. But I had the best interest for people. I knew I couldn't get anywhere if I didn't get you to where you needed to be. So
yep.
I felt like the bad bosses and the crazy people helped me.
Oh, couldn't agree more.
But I think it's, a lot of people say that, but then again, there's a lot of bad people that inflict a lot of mental stress and strain on people too. So how do we deal with both sides of the coin on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's real interesting. I mean, bad bosses, right? I think that's a great example. Is I had a boss that I thought was just loony bins at the time. Maybe not loony bins, but just like hated me or something, and was out to get me. And maybe they were, but and at the time I was miserable. I think it was, you kept on describing me as Andy Dufresne climbing through a mile of shit, right? In one of our favorite movies. And I, waited it out. And the whole idea was that it was just, you would go to this person with something that you had thought, man, this is the best piece of work I've ever done. I've gone over this like 20 times. I've asked all my coworkers who I respect, like, hey, what do you think about this? Do you think that this is good? And it's, oh, this is amazing. Wow, you did this. That's so good. And then you bring that to the person, and it's like, yeah, it's a good first draft. Yeah, I feel like that's about 32% complete. You might be onto something, maybe, come back when you got a couple different, another version of it, and let's talk about it some more. And I just would be like deflated, just, kicked in the gut. Come to find out, afterwards, after, learning some things and doing some stuff, it's just like that person wasn't evil. They just had a much different behavior style than me. There's always going to be something, and there's always going to be an area where you need to try and see, in my opinion, what could cause that person to be acting that way? What could have happened that would be giving them stress in their life? What, and to me, that's the ultimate kind of equalizer. Is it's like always trying to relate to that person, because you're going to have to deal with crazy people.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah. They might be super important. They might not be, but it doesn't mean that that's an excuse to just carve that out of your life or just say, nope, I don't need to deal with you because you're crazy. And so having a tool set of being able to successfully and effectively interact with those people is pretty important.
It's massively important. And I think you summed it up best. There are some people who are just crazy analytical.
Yes.
And then there's some people like me who are just jazz hands, right? I don't need to go down the super analytical pathway. For me, I'm like, hey, let's talk pop culture. Let's talk this. Let's do that. And so that might not always jive with the person who's super analytical.
No.
Or you might have somebody that you're dealing with and you think they're always rushing you, but it just might be part of their deal that they're like, super quick to make a decision.
They're a doer.
Yeah. And we see that, in relationships, right? My wife, she struggles to order, right? Like almost gets paralyzed. And like,
it's her favorite restaurant. I don't know. I don't care.
I don't know. What do you think? Right? But then
what do you want?
Yeah, it's just like, man, what would you like to drink? And it's almost like, right? But some people, and she's going to be mad about that. But some people, they need extra time.
Yeah.
And so the key, like, okay, so I could be like, you always do this, or just be like, hey, I'll take a champ on the rocks.
Yep.
And come back to her when she's ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No need to rush things.
But I think that kind of leads into like how you deal, because we're going to have to deal with crazies.
It's going to be there.
And it's almost like you have to, for those people, and let's just say you got a crazy boss.
Yep.
You got to try and find the things about that boss that are actually good.
Right.
Even if it's one or two things.
Yes.
Oh, what are they good? What are they good at? Right. And you got to try and figure out a way to lock yourself into what's positive, and then try and figure out how you can add in to some of the gaps.
Yeah. At some point, somebody hired that person or promoted that person because they thought, this is an effective person that I should put in charge of people. And it's should it be your job? Maybe not. But in order to save the peace and to not go crazy yourself, you need to go, what was that? And let me try and, grow that in my perception.
Yeah. What were they smoking? And I need to
they smoking?
And get a bag of that so I can get on that level. Yeah,
exactly.
It's tough. And the the truth of the matter is that even the best of us can make some horrible hires.
For sure.
And there are some people before you who've made bad hires. Just because you can sell the heck out of a knee brace,
right,
doesn't mean that you can coach and manage people selling. It doesn't mean that.
No.
And a lot of times when you are hiring someone for the merit that they did individually, it's critically important that you help them now grow into the fact that you're not creating mini me's. You're actually managing all these different dynamic people.
Right.
And you got to figure out how to manage each one differently.
Right. I mean, because what's the opposite? You're the subordinate and you've got a shit boss, but you feel confident that you're a good person, and you dig your heels in the sand. What do you think is going to happen? You're going to be the one that gets tossed to the curb for being a good person because you couldn't get your head out of your ass and be like, okay, I can't deal with this crazy person. So that, and there are going to be people that might think that you're a little crazy, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey man, I've got it needs to be a certain way. I've seen some stuff, and I'm a little bit particular about this, and people might like, oh wow,
Hmm.
that guy is an anal dick. Like,
Yeah.
why would he think this needs to be this way? So you might be the psycho person someday, hopefully not, but it's all about finding that area where you can go, I see that and I see why they feel that way, and I can relate to that.
Yeah. And it's like in in the coaching world now, we call it, it's really just finding empathy.
Exactly.
Right. And it's emotional intelligence, but you have to, it's like how we grew up. And it's so funny. People talk about bullies and everything, and don't bully. But when we grew up, generally a bully was a person who probably had a really rough time at home.
Yep.
Right. Whether mom or dad had walked out, maybe somebody's putting a backhand to you a little more than normal. You know what I'm saying? Something's happening. And now they're lashing out at you.
Right.
Right. And so the people who end up being able to communicate with these people are the people who understand that. Right. And they're like, hey, what is going on with you?
Right.
Like, stop that. And so it's like getting beneath the surface. And if you can get beneath the surface on the person who's crazy, find a little empathy, then you might find some common ground.
Find a little tenderness.
a little something. And again, we had a discussion not that long ago about pop culture. That's how you find out. You might find out that you guys are watching the same show. Even if it's down to that, even if it's like asking them what their show is, and then you try and latch on to it.
Like Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends?
Best friend. Bro, that movie had some of the best cursing ever.
I know.
They put curse words together that I had never seen be connected before. That's a classic. So we talked about it. What benefits or skills can you say being around bad or horrible bosses has helped you with?
It has taught me to button myself up, come correct, think about other scenarios that you might not have thought of, right? Other than just being in your world and going, this is the best thing that Alexei could come up. Think about what is the best thing that my boss could come up with. Mm-hmm. What is the best thing for the organization, and be able to defend that. But don't try to keep the emotions out of it. Be able to defend it logically, not passionately. No. It's always good to be passionate about what you do, but it's not always good to be emotional about what you do. And so if you can sit there and go, all right, this is the X, Y, Z and the black and white facts about why this will help the organization. Mm-hmm. That's not emotional. That's a lot.
Right.
That's a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, emotions are so hard to take out of it because you tell people it's like telling people don't be sad, right? Yep. You can't. The emotions it hits all of us, right? But it's all about finding the true north, mm-hmm. right? Like opening up that compass, because somebody could be like, "Hey, oh yeah," like you said, "Hey, you're presenting me this project, or you're providing a PowerPoint on something." And then I go, you come there like it's your shiny new toy. And I'm like, oh, that's
your baby.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
And so the emotion hits early because you're taken back a little bit.
Yep.
But the true north is, well, I want to get it to where you like it.
Yep.
Right. I want to find a place where this is approved. So now, what do I need to do to get it there?
Yes.
Right. And for us that have, anybody that's ever taken a test or been in school or had to get a certification, the first time you try and make a cup in pottery class, it's not going to look right.
It might be a little wiggly wobbly.
It might be a little wiggly wobbly, but what happens? The first cup you do, you're like, oh, it's sad, right? But then you come back and you figure out how to do it and how to slow down. And,
It's almost like practice is important, Kris.
we talking about practice? Playoffs. You have to do that. And so I think what happens is people get so caught up on not wanting to be perfect.
Right.
Like everybody wants to be perfect. That's a crazy, that's a crazy level and a crazy amount of stress to put on yourself. It's not going to be perfect.
It's a target you will spend the rest of your life chasing.
Yeah. That's like golf. That's what happens. You hit a good golf shot and you chase that the rest of your life.
Yep.
You chase it. And so it's not Tiger Woods, best people, DeChambeau, all of these people, they hit awful shots. It hits people, it's way off the mark. You're going to be like that as well. So if you can accept that,
right,
that sometimes you're going to be off and sometimes people are going to be like, that's about a 5 out of 10. You can take the emotion. Oh, it is? Okay, well, I want a 9 or a 10 out of 10 and go put yourself back to the grindstone.
Yes.
Right? Spin that wheel and make an amazing coffee cup.
Yeah. Or don't always shoot for your first draft to be a 10 out of 10, and that was my big lesson, right? Was it's like, hey, rather than build up all of this pressure and anxiety over making sure that you come with the most perfect thing and realize at that moment that you went down road A thinking this is exactly what I need to do when the expectation from above was that you were going down road B, you put your whole soul into a project that will never see the light of day. So, and if you had communicated that way in advance and been like, hey, this is just version 0.1, just make sure am I smoking the wacky tobacco? Does this look good? Are we on the same page before I put a ton of time in it?
You are delivering Oscar gold because that's what we're telling people. You can set up your psyche to better handle the constructive feedback. If you say, hey, this is just version 1, wanted to get your insights before I got too far down the path and see if I'm headed in the right direction.
The higher you climb, the more emotions will get hurt. So take one step and check the room, check the boss, check the level. Is this cool?
Mm-hmm.
Are we working right? Is this good?
Yeah.
And you're bettering your communication skills along the way.
You are. In selling, that's called a trial close.
There you go.
Right. And so you're like, hey, are we headed in the right direction? Is this looking good? And then it helps them to now see the dance that you're dancing.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to come to you. It's just like ordering at a restaurant. People ask you, okay, you say, hey, I want the ribeye. And you're like, what temperature? They're not just going to assume.
Right.
Right? Because you could be like, like you, well done.
Whoa, those are fighting words. You take that shit back.
well done with A1 sauce on the side, sir. No,
we are done here.
Control Alt Delete. People ask you.
Yep.
Right, and sometimes some of these horrible bosses, they want you to impress them, but I can't read minds.
Right.
So this is your little trial close. Hey, we headed in the right direction. Just want to show you version 1, version 2.0. You know what I'm saying? This next one, this is where we're at. Any feedback, any thoughts? Bring the people that you're trying to impress in.
Yep.
They'll feel like they're a part of it.
Yep. And
some of these people, they are sick. They'll be less likely to try and shoot your shit down if they're a part of it.
Yeah.
Because some people are crazy. They feel like they have to neg you a little bit. And I'm one of these people. If you bring something to me that's totally great, bro, this is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Put a bow on that, send it, lock, stock, and barrel. I am pleased.
One and done.
You can say that. So to all my leaders that are listening, you don't got to coach all the time. If a guy hits a homer, let him hit a homer.
Don't say, well, next time you
Well,
got to
next
do it
time
better than that.
you dug that one out of the dirt. You're lucky. Just take the homer.
Right. Take the win.
Take the win.
Yep.
What advice do you have for people who are like, I think I'm a bad boss?
Yeah. That's, what we talk about, imposter syndrome that's a great, or not a great, that's a key place for that. You're a brand new manager, or, you've got a team and they're like, man, we are not getting along with this guy. Again, it's all about communicating and relating.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things for me that I've gotten really good at over the years as a, kind of an in-between is I'll tell leadership right away, like, hey, I'm not saying you need to tell me all the dark secrets and where all the bodies are hidden, but if you help me understand the big ask here and let me wrap my brain around the entire scenario here, I might have some information you don't. But because I know you have information that I don't. And so transparency goes a long way, right? Being able to talk to your team and that you don't need to be better than them to be an effective leader. You just need to be able to identify their strengths, right? And that's why you hired them. You don't need to be an expert at every role that that reports to you in order to be effective to lead them. So, come in, establish the scenario, find out what are my team's strengths and what are my weaknesses, and do some research, get some information about those strengths and weaknesses, and then be able to go to that person and go, hey, this was awesome. This was great. You did so good here. And then on the different side of the scenario, so we could, hey, that was good, but maybe we can improve this a little bit. Is there somebody I can get you in touch with? Maybe it's not me. It's all about realizing that you're there as helpful hands. You're answering to above, and that's stressful. But remember that you're also answering to below. Don't ever forget that.
Well said. One of the things I would say is that, when you look at people that are on your team, your job is to keep them motivated.
Yes.
Your job is not to whip them. It's to keep them off of the edge.
Yep.
And so I would say that, to complement your statement is to really understand who your people are and then get psychological profiles on them.
Yes.
And yourself, because you might find out that where you might think, oh my God, this person on my team gets on my nerves. You might be polar opposites in how you process the world.
Right.
So figure out who you are. And there's all types of assessments, DISC assessments, psychological profiling. It's super easy. But do that so you can understand yourself and you can understand your team. And then that's going to give you insight into, this person is probably motivated by money, or this person really just wants public praise.
Right. So
figure out who you are, who your people are, and just realize that everybody is on the edge.
Yep.
Right. And some people don't have a safety harness. And so your job is to let those people walk to the edge. And once they feel like they're ready to jump, you're the one pulling them back.
Yep.
To reality, because that's life. Sometimes we're like, you know it. Sometimes home ownership is great. And then sometimes you're like, I'd rather be leasing a place.
Yeah.
Right. And when you see both sides of it, you're like, oh, okay. So there's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
Your job as a leader is to keep people as in the middle as possible.
Right. I mean, another perfect example that I learned from you, Kris, is, let's say you got this like champion on your team and they're always doing great. And all of a sudden they're in the shitter, things are tough. And maybe this isn't the perfect example, but this is a great example of, like they're just struggling, things aren't happening. And you're just like, man, rather than just kind of come on down like a ton of bricks and be like, you're a failure and I'm going to write you up. And this isn't, this isn't great. What if their brother just got cancer and they're dying? There's still human element there. And so rather than just assume that that they're just they're a shitty worker, take the time to find out what has happened, what has occurred. And then you can go, oh, maybe you need to work from home a couple of days a week. Let me accommodate you. And now you've taken that stress off, and now you've put your wagon to their horse. And now it's like, I can work for this guy because look, he really cares about me. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going on in that person's personal life because you didn't ask.
Yeah. And if it was sports, if you pulled a hammy, we'd let you rehab it.
Exactly.
Oh, I can't put you out there on that bad wheel.
Yeah.
I need you to rehab that. We need to take our time.
I don't want you to get injured more. You're an asset to me. And that works universally.
And I think that's the biggest gap is people think that they forget that people are humans.
Right.
And most of the time, what's going on with you, whether it be sports or work, it's what's happening in between the ears.
For sure.
Just getting people there, people to get yips and hitches and, all of a sudden they can't hit a free throw. It's in their head.
Yeah.
So you gotta kind of be a psychiatrist.
Yeah. Every boss should be part shrink.
Part shrink for sure. And that's once I figured that out, I was able to work with a ton more people that previously I might have been like, I don't think I can jive with this person.
I think I might be one of those people.
Yeah. you are. But you find, again, you said it. Listen, the head of Ford or the head of GM, more than likely, they don't know how to put a damn transmission together.
No.
Okay. But their job is, transmissions have a lot to do with the success of their company.
A lot.
It's in everything just about everything that they do.
Okay.
So to your point, you get people who have special skills, right? And then you connect with them as a human.
Mm-hmm.
That's what because I can't talk to you about video editing, right? But I'll put out a lot of videos and they're edited nice.
Yeah. You know what's good when you see it, and you know what needs some work when it doesn't.
And here we go. So my job for you is to put up the right bumpers for you so you can edit well.
Yep.
And not be like, well, I need to roll my sleeves up and figure out I love my corporate voice. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
So it's not your job as a leader to be the subject matter expert
exactly
for everything on your team. And so allow those people to be that, and you will have people to be like, you know what, when it's time to get on the grill, people know who they're calling.
Exactly.
Right? They're calling me. They want me to manage this, this rack of lamb. They want me to manage these ribs. It's a tough job, but I'm the one to do it, and everyone's counting on me. Mm-hmm. That type of inspiration is how teams win the Super Bowl.
Couldn't agree more.
Because somebody's got to hold the ball when the field goal kicker is kicking.
Yep,
that's a big gig.
For sure, it's a big gig. To me, it's about having reading the room and knowing stick and carrot, right? So am I going to whip them with the stick, or am I going to show them the carrot of the promised land when they get there and reward them? And everybody needs a different balance of stick and carrot. And it's just being effective and good at knowing, oh, you respond well when I ride your ass. Okay, I don't love that, but hey, for the better part of us, okay, I will ride your ass. Oh, you respond much better when I go, look at this promotion you're going to get when you finish this big project. And finding that balance is where that shrink thing comes in.
Yeah. I like to use the pinch and carrot model.
Pinch and carrot.
Pinch and carrot. I'm just pinching you like, hey, hey, you see that carrot over there? You see, I ain't gonna whip you. I'm like, hey, did you know that was that close? Can you smell it? That's actually carrot cake. So it's just little pinches to be like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. And one of the things I think sometimes people are afraid to do is to give that feedback. I'd rather give more than less.
Oh yeah.
Because I can just be like, hey man, you up? Okay, good. It's better than me not checking on you.
Right.
Being in the lobby, wondering where you are when I could have checked on you. When I could have just checked on you.
Right.
Hey man, you up? You up? I am. Good, man. See you in 30. Okay, bang. Now it's out of there.
Communication.
Right? So now sometimes people feel awkward if I have to be like, hey, so are you good for Thursday? You gonna be able to get that? Just check in.
Yeah, because maybe you run into the person that's like, oh shit, Thursday?
Oh, what's Thursday? What we doing? So have that communicate, and that's why I say pinch. It's just like, hey, little pinch. Hey man, you remember that? We're getting
Everybody
closer.
Wins.
How you doing? You good? And you like, yes.
Yes.
Yep, I have that in my calendar. I'm putting it in my calendar now.
Cool. We cool, baby.
Cool. We cool.
You know? Solid gold.
So, it's bosses, leaders, coaches.
Yep.
You're dealing with a person. You're not dealing with full robots yet. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. So you're dealing with people. You got to get to know them. The other thing too is like, find out who they are, who they married to, who they kids are, who they pets are, and if you have to, open up a Word doc and start saving it. Create a Word doc on all the people on your team with sort of their profile.
I put it in the notes of their contact in my phone.
That's it. And you know it. Oh, how's Jeannie doing? How's this? What's going on with that? Oh, you got a birthday today. Yeah. People's kids' birthdays are their birthdays.
Yeah.
So you have to treat their family's birthdays like it's theirs. Now, I'm not saying you got to send a cake and everything to them, but if you have that relationship and if you feel like that will do something, then send something.
Maybe you send a little. Maybe you Instacart a little Cold Stone to your worker's daughter.
You've been doing that for years.
That's one of my favorite things.
She actually looks forward to that.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? And she'd be like, "Yeah, Alexei gave me that. That's great. I'm gonna eat that later."
Praise her.
So yeah, you know there are crazy people, but you got to figure out how to deal with them.
Yes.
And, you think about some of the crazy people, they just want to be heard.
They just want to be heard.
And you have to, I think in our world, you got to be able to talk to just about everybody. It's not just going to be the people who look like you, who sound like you, who come from the same, who are cut from the same cloth. You got to figure out what's going on with the weirdo, because the weirdo got some intel for you as well.
Yeah. And maybe you are cut from the same cloth, but it doesn't show up that way. Like you and I are cut from a lot of the same cloth. But if people walked up and looked at the two of us, they would never know that in a million years.
Nope. They wouldn't know that. And they wouldn't.
Right.
And so that's why you have to.
You got to dig.
You got to dig. You can't just be surface.
Right.
And sometimes, listen, you don't got to tell people your deepest, darkest secret.
No.
Right. But you can share with them, hey, I was raised middle class, East Side, right? Detroit. I did this. I'm a Catholic schoolboy. I played football. But now you're getting this whole this story.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, okay. And even though there's this world of difference, there's this world of similarities.
Correct.
And
it doesn't even take anything significant to have that similarity. It could be just like you were saying, right? Game of Thrones. Yeah, watch this episode of Game of Thrones. People are like, oh, and maybe that's all it takes. You only need one link to open that book.
No, and I did not. The way this woman looked, she did not look like a Game of Thrones person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, mean black woman. Ooh, child, you just wait. Joffrey, just the beginning, honey. And I was like, oh, okay. Joffrey.
Right. I can fuck with this.
Yeah. So, I mean, horrible bosses, they're always going to be around. A lot of times they're misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to give your boss feedback.
It's okay.
It's okay. How do you, from your perspective, I've got my ideas. From your perspective, how do you give a boss feedback?
Oh, I've been on every level of the spectrum of impossible to possible. And so I've learned a ton there. I mean, I've had bosses where I felt like, oh, I can't tell them anything. But like I said, I've gotten really good at being like, hey, I'm an asset to you. I'm confident in my skills. You know that I do X, Y, and Z good. And maybe we both know that there's other things that I don't do so good, but own that and just show your confidence and be like, hey, what will help me do this better, and these are of value to you, is if I know this, or if I can do this, or if this could change a little bit. So ease into that with the, help me help you, right?
Yeah.
And that is a great dialogue starter into making room for that feedback by, establishing, hey, I know a lot about this, and I've seen this, and I think this could be better, right? Don't ever, this is another big thing. Don't be Debbie Downer. And, it's okay to have a critique on something. It's always okay to have a critique on something, but you got to have an alternative. You have to have a possible solution. Maybe it's even just pie in the sky, but you're like, this isn't okay, but maybe this could work. And as long as you come with that, you're trying to be positive. You're moving in the positive direction.
Come with a solution.
Yeah.
Don't just say, oh, this is horrible. Okay, where are we going to go?
Right.
I don't like this restaurant. Okay, what's close?
Where should we go instead?
Where should we go instead? Well, there's this place boom, 2 blocks from here. Okay.
Right. And
so
maybe have a plan on how to get there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think from my perspective, it's about, one, it's like this. They're no different than the insecure people that we talk about.
They're still human too.
They're still human. So there's bosses that want everybody to love them.
Right.
So it's like, you got to treat them like they're super sensitive. And it's like, hey, you know what? Great meeting. This is awesome. I had a really good time. And the perfect words to say is something to consider. Right? Something to consider. Person, you could be like, hey, Rick, he's kind of sensitive. So, or he needs extra time. So maybe giving us a little more time to do it will probably get some better results. Right. And all you have to do is just say something to consider, not you need to, or you should. You want to just kind of give somebody a thought and let it grow. Right. And so if you got to tell somebody that's above you, those are the best words, something to consider.
Yeah. And Rick, if you're listening to this, it's okay to be sensitive, Rick.
It's okay. Rick, you don't have to bully people.
No, stop bullying people, Rick.
It's not. Yeah, stop bullying people, Rick, and give people time. People don't. They're not gonna have the answers as soon as you want them. And that's just all about flexibility.
No, yeah, totally.
So horrible bosses, you got to be flexible. You gotta remember that you're dealing with human beings. And then some of the best words that you can say to anybody, whether it be a spouse or, hey, what can I do to better help you?
Right.
Ask them that and be willing. And they might be like, man, do we have to have an 8 a.m. conference call on Monday? Can we do it on Tuesday? Because I'm one of those people. What's the difference? Hey, that's my Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal? What's the deal with airplane food? What's the difference between Friday and Monday?
Jack shit.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
probably. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
And some people just want to start their week like that. You can tell people, hey, what can I do differently? Can we change the 8 a.m. conference call?
Yeah.
Or you can seek to understand. They might be like, well, I have it there, so I get info from you, so I can have it for that.
For my big Monday morning team meeting.
Yeah, but that could turn into a Thursday meeting.
Yeah.
Because what's going to change from Thursday to Friday? I just get, one day?
Yeah. Or maybe that rock solid reason, you're like, oh, shit, I didn't think about it like that.
I didn't think about it.
I understand now. And now I realize that this is more important. I just thought this was some bullshit you threw on a calendar.
Yeah, and or you thought they weren't being considerate of you.
Exactly.
But then you can be like, well, how does Friday work?
Right.
I like talking to people on Thursday and Friday because everybody's in a good mood.
Right.
Right. I'd rather talk to you at 11 on a Friday than 8 on a Monday.
Ooh,
any day. You know what I'm saying?
Super. You ready for this or that?
This or that. This or that.
I have my opinion, and I've found that this might be an East Coast, West Coast thing.
Okay.
For geography, you have no idea where I'm going. I can tell you that. But you've traveled the seven seas and lands like me, and you've seen some stuff. Which is more magical, sunrise or sunset?
Wow. I would say, and it's a tough one because there's a lot of effort that has to go into seeing a sunrise.
Especially certain times of the year.
Certain times of the year. There's a lot of effort. Mm-hmm. You may have to stay up all night.
Might have to.
Right? Because a lot of times this idea happens maybe over a cold beverage.
Yep.
Or two, or a couple, right?
Yep.
And somebody goes, oh man, we should go see the sunrise. And so then it's like, okay, we got to lay down or we got to stay up. We got to set a clock. We got to go hit it. And there's nothing like feeling the heat of that sun wake you up. And then all of a sudden now it goes from Nowhereville to people everywhere, dogs running. Mm-hmm. And you get a chance to see it, So I would say sunrise.
I like it.
And you, sir?
I'm a sunset guy because to me, there's something magical about toes in the sand. I'm a closer. I'm a lot more excited about closing chapter because, things might be nebulous or I might, the satisfaction that I get from saying this is done, closing out a day and, and being like, oh, what's on the horizon? What's next is a lot more magical to me than because I'll always have my head full of information and buzzing about
what I gotta do.
Here we go. Here's the beginning of the day, but I got to do this and this and this and this.
Right.
So being able to close out a day with something beautiful is a lot more special to me than opening the day with something beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And it's generally cooler. It's like, it's funny because since we're on both coasts, we picked the ones we're going to see.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I thought that.
Yeah. and it's like, it's always nice and crisp. You're like, oh, there it is. It's going down. I think I've seen some of my best in Orange County, California. I've seen some great sunsets there. But, man, that's a cool this or that.
Yeah. Thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, I love it. And I hope you all like it. And I hope you all like this episode. If you do, You know what to do. Like it. Give us a thumbs up. Pass it along. Send it to a friend. Say, listen to this. Listen to these guys. They're crazy. We having a good time, but yet they spitting facts. So
Yep.
I appreciate you listeners. And as always, I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you, my man.
Peace.
Peace.